In the heart of the city, shrouded in decay and forgotten by time, stands the Rosewood Apartments. Construction on this towering structure ceased abruptly in 1987, following a string of mysterious and unexplained disappearances among the workers. For decades, it has been left to rot, a skeletal monument to a dark secret. But while the building was abandoned, the voices never truly left. They linger in the shadows, whispering tales of terror to anyone who dares to listen. Tonight, another soul has been claimed by the building's malevolent silence. Detective Mark Holloway, a man whose face is etched with the wariness of 1,000 grim nights, arrives at the scene. He steps out of his patrol car, the flashing lights painting the decaying facade in strobes of red and blue. A junior officer meets him, his voice low and shaken. This is the third victim this month. All found here, all with the same look of abject terror frozen on their faces. The officer hands Mark a smartphone, the last testament of the deceased. A trembling voice crackles from the speaker, a recording made in her final moments. Someone is whispering inside the walls. The words are cut short by a sudden, heavy thump, followed by an unnerving, absolute silence. A heavy sigh escapes Mark's lips. He knows what he has to do. He has to go inside. The air inside the Rosewood is thick and cold, heavy with the stench of damp and decay. Mark's flashlight beam cuts through the oppressive darkness, dancing across peeling paint and water-stained walls. As he ventures deeper down the main hallway, a sound begins to emerge from the ambient gloom. Faint at first, then growing in clarity, whispers, indecipherable murmurs that seem to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. They coil around him, slithering into his ears. Help, help us. Mark stops, trying to rationalize the sound. A draft in the old pipes, radio interference from his own equipment. He dismisses it, continuing his grim task. He reaches out, his gloved hand touching the cold, clammy surface of the wall. Suddenly, a sharp, frantic knocking erupts from within the plaster, right under his palm. Mark recoils, his heart pounding in his chest. That wasn't the wind. He reaches the crime scene, a barren room where a body bag lies starkly on the floor. His gaze is drawn to the wall. It's covered in deep, desperate scratch marks, as if the victim was trying to claw her way through the solid concrete. A forensics officer points it out, his voice laced with confusion. "It's strange," he says. "It's like she was trying to get into the wall, not escape the room." Mark kneels, his flashlight illuminating the violent scratches. His eyes catch something unusual. A fine layer of dried cement dust gathered around a nearly invisible crack in the plaster. A flicker of an idea, a terrible suspicion, begins to form in his mind. He needs to see what's behind that wall. Armed with a crowbar from his trunk, Mark returns to the room. He wedges the tool into the crack and pries. The old plaster groans and then shatters, revealing a loose panel behind it. With a final heave, he pulls the panel away. A dark, hollow cavity is revealed. The flashlight beam penetrates the darkness, falling upon a horrific sight. The space is filled with old, rotting wooden beams from the original construction. But mixed in with the debris are other, more gruesome objects. Bone fragments, yellowed with age, are embedded in the rough concrete that seals the cavity. Skulls and ribs are fused into the very foundation of the building. Mark stares in disbelief, a cold dread washing over him. As he stands there, frozen, a single whisper cuts through the silence, clearer and closer than before. "We are here." The voice is intimate, as if spoken directly into his ear. A deep crack echoes through the room as the floor beneath him vibrates violently. He stumbles back, his mind reeling. The lights in the hallway begin to flicker erratically. The world around Mark distorts, twisting and blurring as a series of horrifying visions flood his mind. He sees them, the workers from 1987, not disappearing, but being herded into the unfinished walls by ruthless men. He sees their faces, twisted in screams of pure terror, as wet cement is poured over them, entombing them alive. He sees a shadowy contractor, his face obscured, shaking hands with a businessman, a briefcase full of money exchanging hands. He sees the victims trapped in their concrete tombs, their hands banging, clawing, screaming until their voices gave out. A collective, ghostly voice echoes in his head, a chorus of eternal agony. They buried us alive, and we never stopped screaming. Mark snaps back to reality, gasping for breath, his body drenched in cold sweat. He has to get out. Now, he turns and sprints back down the hallway, but the whispers are no longer faint murmurs. They have become a roaring tempest of enraged voices, swirling around him, pounding in his skull. Stay with us. Join us. You found us. The very walls of the hallway begin to bulge and warp, pressing inwards as if unseen figures are pushing from the other side, trying to break through. Stay back, Mark screams, his own voice sounding small against the cacophony. He runs, his lungs burning, his eyes fixed on the distant exit door. But the hallway seems to stretch, elongating with every step he takes, an impossible, nightmarish corridor that refuses to let him go. The building itself is alive, and it is trapping him. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, he reaches the exit. His hand closes around the cold metal of the door handle. Freedom is just a turn away. But then a single, chilling whisper brushes against his ear, as clear and personal as a lover's secret. Detective Holloway. Time seems to slow down. He knows he shouldn't, but he can't stop himself. He turns his head slowly, his eyes wide with a terror he has never known. From the wall directly behind him, a pale, discolored hand pushes through the plaster as if it were water. Then another appears beside it, and another. Soon, dozens of ghostly hands are clawing their way out of the wall, reaching for him, their spectral fingers grasping at his clothes, his arms, his face. Mark Holloway opens his mouth and screams, a raw, primal sound of pure horror that is swallowed by the hungry walls of the Rosewood apartments. The city sleeps on, oblivious. On the police radio frequency, a dispatcher's voice cuts through the static. Detective Holloway, please respond. Detective Holloway, do you copy? There is no answer, only silence. Then, slowly, the whispers begin to fade back in, a soft, satisfied chorus in the darkness. Another one inside.